Discuss the discovery of a significant copper deposit in Zambia by an American startup, Cobalt.
BEC chairman called for a ban on copper exports as so many thieves are hitting businesses to steal this precious
DRC.
metal.
Zambia is the second largest producer of cobalt in Africa after the DRC, but it's actually quite rare to find such large-scale copper mine.
We know the benefits that come out of there, jobs for our youthful population, skilled, non-skilled, semi-skilled if you like. Number two, business opportunities.
Zambia just made a move with their copper reserves that has every single US tech giant in absolute panic mode. And what they're planning could completely shut down America's AI revolution before it even starts. Right now, AI data centers are multiplying at an insane pace. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, they're all racing to build more computing power. But here's the problem nobody's talking about. Every single one of these AI facilities needs thousands of tons of copper just to function, and we're running out fast. By 2026, the world will be short 304,000 tons. By 2035, 6 million tons short. And while US tech giants scramble to figure out where their next copper shipment comes from, Zambia just discovered one of the largest copper deposits ever found. But they're not just handing it over to America. China's already making moves. The bidding war has started, and whoever wins this fight controls the entire AI future. Let me show you exactly what's happening and why Bill Gates just bet $2.3 billion on this. Here's what most people don't understand about AI infrastructure. In 2024 alone, North America built over 6.3 gigawatts of new data center capacity. Each megawatt needs 27 to 33 tons of copper. A typical AI-ready data center uses 100 megawatts or more. That's thousands of tons of copper per facility before you even count the electrical grid upgrades needed to power it. Bloomberg reported that by 2030, data centers alone could consume 420,000 tons of copper every single year. And that's just data centers. Electric vehicles need copper. Solar panels need copper. Wind turbines need copper. Everything hitting at once. The demand is absolutely staggering. So where does copper come from? Chile is the biggest producer. Then Peru. Then the DRC. Then China. But here's the kicker, even copper mined elsewhere usually gets shipped to China for refining. China controls 90% of global rare earth refining and a massive chunk of copper refining too. The United States is 100% import dependent on 12 critical minerals, over 50% dependent on 28 more. China supplies over 50% of US demand for 21 different mineral commodities. If China plays hardball, America's tech industry stops. And they're already flexing. In August 2023, China announced export controls on gallium and germanium critical for semiconductors. December 2024, they restricted antimony. Europe hasn't received a single antimony shipment from China since October. Prices jumped over 300% in 1 year. That's China showing they control the supply chains. The US response: panic spending. The Pentagon invested $540 million into critical mineral projects. The government allocated $7.5 billion to domestic mining. The Department of Energy announced another billion for lithium, nickel, and rare earths. But here's the brutal truth: mining takes 10 to 20 years. And we need copper right now. Enter Zambia. In February 2024, a Silicon Valley startup called Cobalt Metals announced they discovered the largest copper deposit found in Zambia in over a century. This changes everything. Cobalt isn't your typical mining company. They're a tech company using artificial intelligence to find minerals. They analyze geological data, satellite imagery, drilling records, everything. Their AI creates what they call Google Maps of the Earth's crust and tells them exactly where to dig. And their backers? Bill Gates through Breakthrough Energy, Jeff Bezos, Ray Dalio, Jack Ma, Richard Branson. These investors bet hundreds of millions because finding new copper the old way is nearly impossible. Most easy deposits are already mined, but Cobalt's AI finds what traditional methods miss. The Mingamba discovery is massive. Cobalt's president Josh Goldman said it will become one of the world's top 3 highest-grade copper mines. At full production, it could pump out 500,000 to 600,000 metric tons annually. The world's biggest mine, Escondida in Chile, produces just over 1 million tons. So this single Zambian mine would produce half of what the current world leader does. Cobalt plans to invest $2.3 billion to develop it. Construction starts in 2026, with production beginning in the early 2030s. If successful, Zambia's copper output skyrockets. Right now, Zambia produces 800,000 tons yearly. The government wants to triple that to 3 million tons by 2032. With Mingamba, that's actually achievable. But Cobalt isn't alone. Barrick Gold committed nearly $2 billion in 2023 to boost production at their Lumwana mine. First Quantum Minerals invested $1.35 billion in Kansanshi. The biggest mining names are racing into Zambia because they see what's coming. And here's where it gets critical. While this unfolds in Zambia, the copper shortage is already hitting hard. Wood Mackenzie forecast a 304,000-ton deficit in 2025. That's this year. By 2035, the International Energy Agency says existing and planned mines will only meet 70% of demand. That's a 6 million ton shortfall. When supply can't meet demand, prices explode. Bank of America predicts copper hitting $5.44 per pound by 2026. Some analysts project $13,500 per ton by 2028. When copper prices surge, everything becomes more expensive. Data centers cost more to build. Electric vehicles cost more. The entire tech revolution slows down. Tech giants understand this. If they can't secure copper, they can't build data centers. If they can't build data centers, they lose the AI race. This is existential for them. But here's the geopolitical nightmare keeping Pentagon officials awake. China is already circling Zambia's copper. Chinese companies have massive operations in the DRC right across the border. Ivanhoe Mines, backed by Chinese investment, owns 40% of Kamoa-Kakula in the DRC. It produced nearly 400,000 tons last year. In January 2024, MMG Limited, a Chinese state-owned subsidiary, bought the Khoemacau mine in Botswana for $1.875 billion. That's right next to Zambia. China is systematically surrounding the region and locking up copper supplies. Why does this matter? Because whoever controls copper controls the future. If China locks up major copper-producing regions, they can dictate terms to everyone else. They can slow down America's AI development. They can make electric vehicle infrastructure economically impossible. They can hold the green energy transition hostage. This is great power rivalry playing out in African mines. The US finally gets it. That's why there's a desperate scramble for copper supplies outside China's control. Zambia represents hope. It's stable, English-speaking, with huge copper deposits not yet dominated by Chinese interests. But it's not too late for China to win this race. And the demand keeps accelerating. OpenAI announced the Stargate project $500 billion for AI infrastructure. The International Energy Agency says data center electricity demand could double by 2030, hitting 945 terawatt-hours yearly. All of that needs copper for transmission, distribution, and cooling. Oracle publicly delayed data center projects because they couldn't get electrical equipment. Wood Mackenzie analysts told the Financial Times that tech companies are outbidding power companies for transformer units. Some projects face delays until 2030, just waiting for equipment. The supply chain is buckling under demand. This is why Zambia's discovery is crucial. Cobalt's success proves AI-powered exploration works. If their technology found massive deposits in Zambia that traditional surveys missed, what else is out there? This could trigger a new mining boom with AI exploration revolutionizing the industry. But there's a catch. Mining doesn't happen overnight. Even after discovery, it takes years for permits, infrastructure, and production. Cobalt won't start mining until 2027 at earliest, with production in the early 2030s. That's 5 to 10 years away. Meanwhile, the shortage gets worse. If copper prices spike too high, it could stall the AI revolution. Companies might delay projects indefinitely. We could see copper rationing with critical industries getting priority. The US government now treats this as national security. In 2024, copper was added to the critical minerals list, making projects eligible for federal incentives and fast-tracked permitting. But here's the problem: the US only has 3 copper smelters. Even if we find domestic deposits, we don't have refining capacity. We'd still ship copper to other countries, possibly China, for processing. This is why investors watch Zambia intensely. It's not controlled by China yet. It has stable governance. It has massive deposits, and it's hungry for investment. President Hichilema is rolling out investor-friendly policies and infrastructure improvements. Plus, Zambia has abundant hydroelectric power. Over 80% of their energy is hydro. Mining operations run on clean, cheap electricity. In a carbon-conscious world, that matters. Green copper from Zambia could command premium prices. But here's the twist. Zambia joined BRICS in January 2024. That's the economic alliance led by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. They're working to reduce dependence on the US dollar and Western institutions. If Zambia aligns too closely with China through BRICS, those copper deposits could flow to Chinese refineries and manufacturers. The US and Europe could lose access to critical resources they desperately need. This explains the intense diplomatic scramble happening behind the scenes. Western nations offer development aid, infrastructure loans, technology transfers, anything to keep Zambia aligned with the West. China offers more money with fewer conditions, and Zambia has history with Western mining companies. During 2000's privatization, foreign corporations made enormous profits while Zambians saw little benefit. Pollution increased. Working conditions were questionable. Tax revenues were minimal because of sweetheart deals. So there's understandable skepticism when Western companies come with promises now. Why trust them this time? China offers infrastructure for resources. No governance lectures, just business. This is the real battle in Zambia right now. It's about geopolitical influence. Whoever wins Zambia's trust wins access to resources powering the next 50 years of technology. By 2028, copper demand from data centers alone could hit 572,000 tons yearly. Cumulative copper locked in data centers could exceed 4.3 million tons by 2035. Add electric vehicles, renewables, grid upgrades, and you're looking at unprecedented demand. So what happens next depends on who moves faster. Every month of delay gives China more leverage, more chance to lock up supply agreements, more risk of bottlenecks crippling Western tech development. Here's my take. Copper prices will explode in the next 3 to 5 years. The supply isn't there. Zambia's mines will help, but not fast enough to prevent a crunch. Tech companies will start signing long-term supply contracts directly with miners. They might even buy mines themselves. Microsoft owning copper mines sounds crazy, but might happen. And we'll see major diplomatic efforts to keep Zambia aligned with Western interests. Aid packages, trade deals, security cooperation. Because losing Zambia means losing the copper race. And losing the copper race means losing the AI race and potentially global power status. But what if we're already too late? What if China locked up enough supply to control the market? What if Western investments are too little too late? We'll find out over the next few years. And it'll be one of the most important stories of our time, even if most people never hear about it. So keep your eyes on Zambia. Watch cobalt metals, follow copper prices. Because this tiny African nation just became one of the most strategically important countries on Earth. What happens there will shape the technology you use, the cars you drive, the energy you depend on, for decades. Bill Gates bet $2.3 billion on Zambia's copper because he sees what's coming. Tech giants are scrambling because they see the warning signs. And you now understand what's really happening behind the scenes. If you found this valuable, smash that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos breaking down stories that actually matter. And drop a comment: can the US compete with China for Zambia's copper, or is the game already over? I read every comment and want to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video where we dive deeper into the resource wars shaping our future.